Hi everybody, it's Carrie and I would like to share a story with you today. The story comes from the Bible and it's adapted from the book of Mark in the 9th chapter. And this story is called God's Love is for Everyone. Now before we get started, I just want to make sure, does everybody know what a Christian is? A Christian is someone that believes in Jesus. Okay, so here goes our story. Let's go, said Jesus one day. We must do God's loving work. Okay, said Jesus' friends, the disciples. We're ready. So off they went. The disciples traveled with Jesus everywhere and learned many things. They watched what Jesus did. They listened to what Jesus said. They tried to live in a way that Jesus lived. And all the time they tried to do God's loving work. Sometimes God's loving work was to help someone in trouble because God's love is for everyone. Sometimes God's loving work was to play with little children because God's love is for everyone. Sometimes God's loving work was to share what they had. God's love is for everyone. Sometimes God's loving work was to be a friend with someone who was lonely. God's love is for everyone. And sometimes God's loving work was to tell stories about God's love. God's love is for everyone. Day after day, they traveled from town to town. Day after day, they tried to do God's loving work. One day, John, one of the disciples, became angry. Jesus, I need to talk to you, John said. We saw someone doing the work that you asked us to do. That isn't right. I told him to stop because he was not part of our group. Jesus looked at John and smiled. John, he said, don't try to stop that person. Remember, God's love is for everyone. Anyone can use their hands and feet and eyes and mouths to show and tell people about God's love. Everyone can share in God's loving work because God's love is for everyone. So the moral of this story is, sometimes we see people that are different from us, and they do things a little differently than we do. And this is the same with Christians. They may worship differently than we do, but they talk about Jesus, they pray like Jesus, they sing songs about Jesus, and read about Jesus. They are followers of Jesus just like us. We don't all have to be the same. We just need to love and remember God's love is for everyone. Can you join me in a prayer? So today, for my hands, I'm going to hold them like this, but you can hold your hands any way you want. Let's bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for Jesus, who invites us to learn from him and how to pay attention to you. Help us to hear Jesus' call to work together for a better world. Amen. I hope you enjoyed this story today. If you click on the link, you will find some activities that have to do with this story. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again.